Whoa, yo, yo, can you hear the call? I heard a call. This Grenada Groovy Monarch 2016 Dash inviting you to our Spice Mass celebration, our carnival, August 14th and 15th, mark the date, don't believe. Jab, we have it. Shortly, we have it. Pretty Mass, Tuesday. Soca Monarch on a Friday. Sunday, the March Grass. Saturday, Panorama. Carnival, me alone on the road, but we need some company. 2017, book it and come. Yes, my island. How can you miss it? Trample the ground, catch me in the crowd. Raise your right hand, the vibes turn up loud. Trample the ground, catch me in the crowd. Raise your right hand.
I want to thank you for coming out. I know there's a lot happening right now. We're in the middle of the season, so I want to thank you for your time and of course the continuous coverage that you give us at Spice Mass. At my head table this morning I have ACP Prince, who is also a director on the Spice Mass Corporation board, and I have our chairman, Miss Genevieve Gibbs. I know it's her first introduction to you as chairman of the Spice Mass Corporation. This morning we are going to be talking about safety and security measures as it relates to Spice Mass 2017, as well as giving you updates. We'll also open up the floor. This, apart from the safety and security, we want it to be a very, very informal session where you can ask questions as it pertains to Spice Mass 2017. I'd like to now invite my chairman, Ms. Gibbs, to of course make a few remarks.
Good morning again. On behalf of the board of Spice Mass, I'd like to say thank you for coming. This morning's press conference is to deal with, as our CEO said, primarily with Spice Mass 2017 in conjunction with the RGPF. I'd now turn you over to the RGPF, who would give his view on 2017 Spice Mass.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and good morning to members of the media. Only recently we had an engagement where we gave you some of the information that we needed you to convey to the public in terms of how we anticipate general public behavior for Mass 2017. Today I'm going to be more direct in terms of specific events that are going to happen and what we are looking for persons to do during those events. As you know, and you would appreciate that our responsibility is to create the environment for all of the events for Spice Mass 2017 to take place. And the environment meaning that persons can move about feeling safe and secure to do what they want to do during the period. And so we start off by looking at, first and foremost, and advising persons who are attending the functions of Spice Mass to do so with the understanding that there is a need to secure their vehicles. If they are coming to an event, they need to ensure that wherever they are going to park the vehicle, they can park the vehicle and ensure that it is properly secured. We are also asking persons to come to this event without prohibited items like knives and guns and those type of equipment, those types of weapons. Yes, you can leave those things at home, knives and so on at home, and secure your firearms before you come to these functions. We're also going to be looking at the vehicles that are going to be involved in the bands. We've already begun to engage those persons, asking that they outfit those vehicles with protection around the tires to prevent any possibility of injury to persons, masqueraders who may by chance slip underneath the vehicle or so. We would want to ask them to outfit the vehicle so that those things can be prevented. We also will be looking and asking again those same persons to avoid having persons who are highly intoxicated, let's say drunk, to be standing on the high or the tall trucks while they are moving, as there is a possibility for persons to fall from those heights and cause injury to themselves. So we're asking persons to pay attention to those persons who are on the trucks and ensure that those persons who are highly intoxicated are not on the trucks that can become dangerous for them, causing them to fall and injure themselves. We also want to address the issue of the use of the old oil, the jab, and we are asking that persons desist from using the oil on the road, on the pavement, simply because after the oil is used, the road will have to be reopened and vehicles will be traveling on the road, and usually the oil does not create good for traction, and so vehicles are likely to have accidents immediately after that. So we are asking the masqueraders, the jab in particular, to, if they're using the oil, they need to step out of the pavement on the sidewalk or somewhere on the grass area to use the oil. For the events at the National Stadium and at Progress Park, we are expecting persons again to come with the expectation that you will be screened to enter those venues. We have 2 checkpoints, the soft ticket checkpoint and then the hard ticket checkpoint, where you're going to be actually physically searched to ensure that you do not come into the event with any restricted item. So this is an expectation. For parking at those events, it's important that persons know that parking is limited in those areas. So if you come early, you can get a park. If you come late, then you may not get a park, and so you'd have to drive back to some other area where you can find a park and then walk to the venue. So parking again is based on first come, first serve basis. We also want to encourage persons that as you move around, the consumption of alcohol, usually people get carried away and they drink more than they can carry, and especially our young girls, teenagers, as well as elderly ones, find themselves in difficulties, and sometimes you find yourself in the company of the wrong set of people and you can be abused being under the influence of alcohol. So those are some of the things that we want to bring to the attention of the public, and we're really looking forward for the fullest cooperation. We would like very much that mass for 2017 be one that is safe and secure, so that we could continue to maintain the status quo that Grenada is still the safest country in the Caribbean region. Thank you very much.
See you.
You know, as I said as we started, you know, this is supposed to be this is going to be an interactive press conference, a short press conference. So I'd now like to open up questions from the media as it relates to Spice Mass 2017.
Good morning. Just to start off with, there's just one concern. We're not hearing much of the children's carnival front.
Mm-hmm.
Can you bring us up to date as to where we are? I know last year or the previous year there was an issue with venue.
Mm-hmm.
Just give us an idea as to where we are with that.
Okay. I think you skipped a year, but because we were at the National Stadium last year, so it's quite accommodating. We are going to proceed as we did last year in terms of the Junior Calypso competition. It will be held the day before. This year it is the Clear Harbor Junior Calypso competition. They've come on as the title sponsor of the Junior Calypso component of Spice Mass. That is going to take place at Carnival City on the 4th of August, starting at 6 p.m. So we're encouraging people to come out and support the youth. The decision to separate it last year was as a result of making sure that children get home early. The 3 components don't work very well at the National Stadium because we have new bands coming on the scene every year. So it was a perfect fit last year, and it will also run that way this year. The routing is also going to be a bit different. Prince, I don't know if you want to share the routing of the children, how they will parade this year.
Right. Yes, let me just...
Sorry, thanks again.
Children Carnival Front. Right, the route for the children would change a bit from last year. What we saw last year, it was by the grace of God that an accident did not occur. While we felt that we wanted to block off that portion of road from the junction with Cherry Hill and the Ring Road to the Green Bridge and make that area there possible for the parading of the band on the street, or the movement of the children from the car park of the athletic stadium onto that main road and then back into the other stadium. When we did that last year, what I saw, I decided that I was not going to do that again, because we exposed the children to what I would consider to be extreme danger with some of the vehicles that were allowed to pass on the road during that time. And I'm talking specifically about some of the vehicles that are carrying fuel. Those vehicles cannot be held up for any reason whatsoever because of the cargo that they're carrying. And so I saw that one of the vehicles were actually on the same road together with the little tiny tots parading on the street. And that to me was frightening. So we had taken the decision this year to use the Ring Road from the Wesley Hall playing field. They would come around the Ring Road, enter into the athletic stadium, and then they would make their way alongside the athletic stadium into the cricket stadium. So that is the route that is going to be used this year.
Okay.
I know that John mentioned in the news that the parents will not be judged. What is the issue and tell me what
Jamu's tent was judged. There is a rule with regards to the judging of tents that says, you must have 15 persons and a minimum of 10 persons to be considered a tent for adjudication. From a Spice Mass point of view, we are very mindful of the cost that artists incur in putting forward their music. Unfortunately, Ajamo's tent did not have the max of 10 persons, but we decided to go ahead and judge the tent. There is a lot of talk of the fact that Ajamo's tent did not have the right amount of people, but if we are going to take the law in its full extent, then a lot of the other tents would also have to be disqualified for not following through. For example, it says that if the tent is supposed to be judged at 8 o'clock and within half an hour the tent is not ready to be judged, Spice Mass Corporation and the judges could decide not to judge the tent. I don't have to explain that. You probably know for yourself that we probably encountered sometimes an hour or too late start in many instances. Another rule that governs it would be the fact that the judging of the tent should be the third public appearance of the tent itself, which means that the tent should have had two gigs prior to the judging of the tent. I think what this has taught me as the CEO of Spice Mass is that we need to reevaluate how tents are judged. We need to reevaluate the rules for judging of tents. That an artist should not be penalized because his tent didn't follow its obligation, that maybe the penalty should go to the tent. Maybe the penalty should be affected in the amount of subvention they get, because every tent is supposed to get $10,000 to help them with the cost of the band and for everything else that they do during the period. So I think I won't say that I'm happy that it happened, but I'm always looking at the opportunity to better things, and I think that's the focus we are going to have going forward. Scholar would have had an interview with you, and he made a very good recommendation that maybe we need to go the route of the Groovy and the Soca, where the artists register with the Spice Mass Corporation. We already issue a subvention to the tents for the band music. Maybe we pay directly to the bands so the artists know exactly which band they go and they practice with. But of course, this is a conversation that needs to happen with the the Calypso associations, and as soon as we are able to have that conversation and able to come up with some sort of decision, we'll share it with you.
Okay, I just spoke about judging. The Stricker did send out the criteria for judging this morning. I didn't get a time to look at it, but coming out of the Groovy semis last night, there's a lot of public discussion as to who was included on the list. We heard talk that Lava Man, for example, was not singing his song, but yet he got through, while we have persons, I'm just sharing what I know.
Yeah.
While persons like Boise, who they thought did an excellent job, did not get through. And a lot of persons, there is this consideration that there's a concerted effort to keep down Boise this year if we can put Boise too. Can you speak to the judging? Some persons say some of the artists who got through didn't perform, didn't sing their song, and that they got through because of favoritism.
I think this is a conversation we have every single year. I think we've had it from the beginning of time. We do have competent judges. The judges do attend workshops. We make sure that the workshops are not only facilitated by local facilitators, but that people who are qualified. Judging is always subjective. You said about keeping down Boise. I would tell you definitely not. That has never been something that Spice Mass has ever promoted and will ever promote. He is our reigning Soca Monarch King, and under my tenure as CEO for Spice Mass, I have always ensured that we engage our winners. He's represented us abroad twice, and we will continue to support all our artists. Again, I will say when it comes to judging, it is subjective. I cannot decide who's a good judge, who's not a bad judge, because then I'll be judging the judge. So it is something, it's a conversation that we have every year. I think one of the good things about how we adjudicate the process is that the artist is able to get a copy of his score sheet and really see what the comments were by the particular judges. You'll see what they felt in many instances. So, you know, we will continue to have workshop with our judges. It's work in progress, it's continuous, but you know, the judge's decision is final.
Okay, the Progress Back venue, how do you think it will work for the weekend events?
We are very optimistic that it will be a very good venue. We honestly wanted to take it back to the bus terminus. We would have applied very early because I like to get all my ducks in a row. We would have received a letter from the Ministry of Works telling us that we could not use the premises due to ongoing construction work. For those of you who would have attended Victoria Park last year, you would realize the park really has a problem with the runoff of water. It was a nightmare for many people last year. We didn't want to put people in that situation. You see how unpredictable the weather has been lately. So a decision was made to try Progress Park. I think as we proceed as a corporation, we are always learning. So we are going to see what happens this year. We have created a venue in a venue. The logistic team is up there as we speak. So we're really encouraging people to come out. I know it can work. I know White in the Moonlight was held there 1 year. I know the traffic moved very well. I know the safety aspects were covered. So I expect us to have a very good show both Friday and Saturday. Miss Gibbs.
Ms. Gibbs, as SMC chair, it also includes, based on legislation, Cultural Foundation.
It does.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. There has been some concerns over the years about the Rainbow City Festival. There have been efforts to revive the festival, but based on what we've seen, it has not really generated the type of interest that was expected. We heard plans for this year also. But can you give us your general feeling as to Rainbow City? Does it make sense continuing with Rainbow City?
If I am to respond, I think it does make sense. I believe that the foundation is committed to reviewing what's happening, what has been happening, and I believe with the new changes that has taken place, it will be one of the items first on the agenda to be looked at. So we can expect a change.
You can look forward. Some of the changes?
No, I won't be in a position to speak about the changes currently. Okay?
ACP Prince, you mentioned in relation to the old oil. Is it that you're saying, because I know persons would put on the old oil before they go to the road, but also you see persons with old oil
On the road.
on the road.
That too. Yes.
Isn't that you can't take action against such, or isn't that it's just you're asking them to?
Well, we're asking them. We try as much as we can to get persons to cooperate and work with us. You can imagine an officer having to go into a jab ban to take a can or a bottle or something of oil oil from someone. You can imagine what that would be like. So we're asking persons to work with us. We are going to be looking at it and seeing and engaging persons as best as we can to ensure that they don't continue to use the oil while they are on the street. It happens all years, but we really would like them to think, and we'll be engaging some of the bands to ensure that they take on board that advice.
Any more questions? Concerns?
Any concerns, ECP?
No,
Nothing
I
to
think
objection?
we're okay. I said a lot last.
We're good?
Was it Monday?
Mm-hmm.
Or was it Tuesday? What was it?
Tuesday, yeah.
I said a lot Tuesday, so
Yeah.
I guess as much.
Can you tell us some of the challenges that you're having when you take some of these?
I think one of the greatest challenge will always be sponsorship. We'll always be getting the corporate citizens to understand the importance of Spice Mass. Also, every opportunity I get like this, I always plead to government as well to look at Spice Mass and what Spice Mass brings into the economy, so that government can also increase its support for Spice Mass, which is our national festival. We have seen a further reduction in sponsorship this year because there are a lot of activities that compete for sponsorship. As a former marketing manager, I know what business is deal with when it comes to their marketing budget. I know that you always want to get in on the stuff that's new. Unfortunately, we had Pure Grenada Music Festival that competes with us. We had the international games, which also competed with us in some respect or the other. I am not putting down any of the events. I want to make that very clear. But of course, a sponsor, if a sponsor has $5,000 and they're giving $5,000 to Spice Mass every year, I might get 4 this year because they would have given something to the international games or Pure Grenada Music Festival. Marketing budgets somehow don't ever increase. We always look at how we can cut it and save the company money. So that is in itself a challenge. I think the other challenge would be, of course, the managing of Spice Mass as a corporation itself. We do get $700,000 from government to support the activities of the Spice Mass Corporation, but about half of that goes in subvention in terms of helping the Carnival Association, the mass bands, the pan bands. So it is a challenge and will continue to be a challenge. But we continue to strive, we continue to meet with new potential sponsors and try to chart the way forward. We're also looking internally at how we can continue to cut costs. One of the measures we did last year was, of course, the cutting of all the free tickets and stuff like that, and that will continue to happen this year. I'm personally manning the ticket system to make sure that we are not having incidences like happened in the past where you'd see 1,400 complimentary tickets for Soca Monarch. So those are some of the things that we're looking at. Restructuring ourselves. We moved the National Queen Show to the Spice Basket, which would save us about $40,000 just by moving it. Because when you talk about the National Stadium, you talk extra security, you talk about all the different things that you have to put in place. Stage, song and light, Spice Basket already has all of that. We looked at the figures for Queen Show. In 2015, it was 777 persons. In 2016, it was 1,100. That is pretty safe for a Spice Basket crowd. So those are some of the initiatives that we're taking. It's not just all doom and gloom. It's about looking at ourselves internally and how we can look at cutting costs in 2017.
I think I heard you mention some time ago that you have reduced some of the debt of Spice Mass. Could you speak to that?
Yes, you know, when I walked into Spice Mass, I told a lot of lies, and I always tell people that. Not deliberately. You know, I went into the to the accounting system and I said, okay, we're $600,000 in debt. And then when Carnival 2016 came around, I had hundreds of people with their invoices in front of me because we didn't manage ourselves properly. When it finally worked out and we looked at the figure of what we actually owed, it was in the range of 800 and something thousand, almost $900,000. I am delighted to say that, you know, through all the hard work of the entire team, and I do have a great team, a great board of directors, a great chairman, a wonderful hardworking staff, we are now at $500,000 in terms of debt. We do know that Carnival can be viable because in 2016 we were $500,000 short on sponsorship from 2015. And that alone should tell you that had I had the same amount of sponsorship, we would probably almost be debt-free now. But as I said, it's continuous work in progress. It's always looking at how we can cut costs, how we can engage different things. Last year was the first year we ran the bar ourselves, and anybody would know as a promoter, the bar is where you make most of your money. So we are doing different initiatives to see how we can really put Spice Mass on better footing. I think when we are able to cover our debts, then we will go head to head in terms of being able to start to raise funds. You know, we should be able to do a Calypso show. We should be able to do something. The same way we had Miss Caribbean United, we should be able to have a regional Calypso competition here. Doing different things that we can raise money for Spice Mass. But presently, as we are, every time a little money comes in, it goes to pay a debt. But I said work in progress, and you know, and I want to thank my board of directors under the supervision of my chairman and the hard-working team that we have at the Spice Mass Corporation. You want to say something? Say it, don't afraid. GB, and you sure you have nothing else? You know you're always calling me.
You want to talk about that scholar thing again? Can you bring us up to date with prize monies this year?
Prize monies remain the same. We did speak to the associations very early, letting them know. I always share, every time I talk, I tell you about the financial situation of the Spice Mass Corporation. They were in agreement to understand that we are not in a position to raise. There was some small raises last year in terms of Soca Monarch and Groovy. The year before, the participation fee also was risen. So, you know, we continue to work with the artists and the stakeholders. We continue to bring them up to date with what we do and how we operate at Spice Mass. I think one of the things that was fundamental for me is the perception of you and the people out there that when they see a Soca Monarch crowd, Spice Mass has made $1 million. And that's not the case. When you're looking at prizes alone coming up to about $400,000, even if I got 7,000 people in the stadium paying what they paid to come in, then I would have just broken even. And I'm not talking about the cost of stage, sound, light, security, all the logistics that go into it, the semi-final round of competition in which each artist is also paid a participation fee, the cost of the preliminaries and the semi-finals all adds up into the cost for Soca Monarch. It's not something I'm proud to say of, I should be ashamed to say it, but not a single show for Spice Mass brings in a profit. At the same time, I cannot put a price on culture because you always hear people saying, well, cut this or cut that or move them here or move them there. We cannot put a price on culture. So again, you know, I emphasize it's about getting corporate citizens to understand the need to explore Spice Mass. They all benefit from the Spice Mass season, and of course also getting government to understand that we need a little bit more.
What's happening with PAN? They always feel that they're getting the short end of the stick. I remember last year, the winner said they were not even allowed to go onto the stage and celebrate because they had to be rushed off to accommodate the show that was running on.
I think PAN will always be a work in progress. It is always a struggle. not everything that you see on TV is real, you know, about reality television. We have continuously tried to work with the associations, and we will continue to work with the associations. Sometimes in the interest of the product and the culture, we want to encourage people to budge or try something different. Often it is met with resistance in the meeting, and then you see something else on television, but it's continuously a work in progress. I was at Pan Expressions this year, and as I was walking in, there were numerous calls for Panorama to be moved to Tantine because they believe that it's a more central area. Not only that, you can engage the Pan and feel, you know, you can really relate to Pan there, but you know, it meets objections with not with the Pan lovers or the spectators, but with the members. So it's always a conversation that we're having. They reach out to us, we reach out to them, but I think that, you know, maybe eventually we're going to have to put the egos aside and decide what's best for Pan in general, okay? And sometimes try something new, and let's see how it works. When you go to Panorama in Trinidad, it is a family atmosphere. You know, there's so much happening. You could bring your blanket, you could bring your cooler, you know, it starts a lot earlier that you could bring your children out. There's bouncing castles, there's all sorts of different things happening. So it's a family event. And, you know, the argument is always, because of the competing shows, we don't go to Panorama. But I'm sure if I ask many of you here, if there's not a competing show, will you be at Panorama? Many of you might say no. Okay, and I'm seeing the nods in the room. So, you know, I know after this interview I'm going to get beat up by the Pan Association because that's how it continuously happens. But I'm interested in the betterment of the product and Spice Mass in general, and I will be honest about my feelings with it.
Just one quick thing, coming back to the soca, the prize money. So one of the soca artists breaking down the prize money as to the expenses incurred by artists every year, and that it may not be sufficient. I know that when we had the vehicle as part of the prize for the winner, there was some excitement about that. Is that a consideration to possibly reintroduce that as part of the package?
Definitely when I get the debt down to zero. Definitely. It's but what we did do, you know, we have been engaging the artists. We've been talking to them all the time. So, you know, I said to them, I say definitely there was an increase last year in the top prize. The system is a bit flawed because an artist coming 5th gets the same prize as an artist coming 15th. Many of the artists themselves don't see themselves ever making it to the top, so they prefer that it stays that way instead of it being tiered, so you're rewarded based on the position you come. So it's a challenge there. I believe that hopefully we'll have the right discussion, because any artist entering a competition should enter the competition with first place in sight. So we continue to engage the artists. This year what I've done is I'm listening to the cry of the artists. I do understand all the expenses that they are incurring putting on their presentations. Some of them do some huge presentations, some of them do very little, and sometimes it doesn't make a difference whether you do a lot or you do a little. We were able to get other partners on board to add to the filler of the prizes. So the cash prizes will remain the same as last year. We got Caribbean Airlines on board, so the winner will receive 2 tickets to anywhere Caribbean Airline flies. I was able to get Colombian Emeralds involved, so at least, you know, we have different prizes that we can lift it. It may not be in terms of cash, but it could be in terms of value. So we've already done that this year, and I'm still begging, so the corporate citizens looking on. In fact, what was really wonderful is that the artists came in to pick yesterday, and as they walked in the office to pick the soca artists for their positions, the marketing manager of Digicel walked in, and I said to them, I said, tell this lady you need a state-of-the-art handset as the first prize, and she agreed. So, you know, we are looking to fill the coffer as much as we can, and as I said, it's a continuous work in progress.
For what has been finalized, just want to make sure I'm clear, so I have to call you. Oh.
I don't mind you calling me.
So first place would get 2 tickets and the prize money.
Yes.
Finalized.
And of course we have watches as well from Colombian Emeralds for everybody, and we're looking at additional prizes as well, you know. So I'm still begging and always looking for suggestions. So the corporate citizens watching this and listening, you think about something you can do. You may have a resort or a hotel and you want to offer the winner a week's stay. You may have a restaurant and you want to offer the winner a dinner for two. Anything, we welcome it. I think that's it. Members of the media, on behalf of ACP Prince, Director Prince, and of course Chairman Gibbs, I want to thank you for coming out. I want to thank you again for continuously pushing Spice Mass out there, the good and the bad, because it brings debate. And I want to thank you for coming out this morning.
The power of soca, the lyrical content of Calypso converge on one fantastic weekend. Semis Weekend, Progress Park. We are coming. Friday, 20th July. It's soca semi-finals. 30 of the nation's biggest soca stars hit the stage as they transform Progress Park. And on Sunday, 30th July, 20 of the top Calypsonians engage the audience with hard-hitting commentaries. It's the Melody Poppy 10th Calypso semi-finals. Showtime 5 p.m. Admission to both shows. Advance tickets $30. You pay more at the door. You must be there. Semis Weekend, Friday 28th and Sunday 30th July. Spice Mass 2017. Come, let's play a mass.